One thing we all long for is to love and to be loved. But how do you know if you're really in love? You can make some of the biggest decisions in your entire life believing that you really love someone. But there's a big difference between love and infatuation, and I will tell you, most people don't know the difference. Learn today that difference. Stay with me.
Welcome to this edition of Living on the Edge with Chip Ingram. The mission of these daily programs is to intentionally disciple Christians through the Bible teaching of Chip Ingram. Have you ever watched one of those Hallmark movies or read a sappy romantic novel and thought, this couple's love seems unrealistic or too dramatic? Well, as Chip teased, today he's unpacking the differences between physical and emotional attraction and true, genuine love. And be sure to keep listening after this message as Chip shares some deeper application that we can apply to our lives. You won't want to miss it. If you're ready, go now to Ephesians chapter 5 in your Bible as Chip continues our series, Love, Sex, and Lasting Relationships.
Well, I've got a question for you. How do you know, really know, if you're in love? If you meet someone and feelings start to come, how do you know when you're in love? When you're dating and it's getting more and more serious, how do you know for sure? And then when you're married, and time and years and some things go by, how do you know if you're still in love? Well, love is a tricky business, and falling in love is even trickier. The ancients talked about falling in love, and they compared it to going insane. It's true. One American author says, falling in love is the taking over of the rational and the lucid mind by delusion and self-destruction. You lose yourself, you have no power over yourself, and you can't even think straight. Nietzsche even weighed in on what it means to fall in love, and this is his objective view of people who fall in love. Love is a state in which a man or a woman sees things most widely different from how they really are. And then finally, relationship experts Les and Leslie Parrott write, as they counsel thousands of students, indeed, steamy starts do not promote our best thinking. Intense emotions often block us from taking a careful and objective look at ourselves, the person that we're dating, and the relationship that we're forming together. Question I'd ask you is if we have this insatiable, internal, God-given drive to passionately find the right person, to connect with them at every level, spiritual, emotional, and physical, and then we want it to last and be great forever, why is it when we fall in love, we make some of the poorest decisions that produce some of the most dysfunctional relationships and pain in all of our life? So you really need to understand if you're really in love. To do that, we're going to answer two questions, and then we're going to go on a quick little journey. Question number one is, you can never know if you're in love unless you define clearly what love is. We use love for I love pizza, I love the NFL, I love God, and I love you. Now, I'm not sure about that, but that can't all mean the same thing. So we've got to define what love really is. The second thing we need to do is we need to understand what's the difference between love and infatuation. We'll define both of those. If you are wrong, if you don't understand, if you're confused, boy, you're in for real pain. And so we're going to take actually a little test where you can know whether you're in love or whether you're just infatuated. And then I want to take the last portion of our time and I want to just talk about, well, how do you nurture love? Whether you're, not in a relationship, whether you're dating and pretty serious, or whether you're married, how do you nurture the love that God wants in every area of your life? Question number one, let's ask and answer, so what is love? We use one very general word in English. There's about 4 in Greek. I want to deal with 3 of them. Three very different definitions of love. In Greek, three different words. The first kind of love is called eros love. This is a need-based love. It's a physical attraction. This love is necessary for a marriage to succeed. However, marriage cannot be sustained by eros love alone. Can anyone think of an English word that remotely might come out of this Greek word eros? Erotic. That's right, we said it out loud and in church, okay? God wants married couples to have erotic love, to be passionate for one another physically. In fact, I'd ask you, if you will, to follow along as I read Proverbs chapter 5, verses 15 through 19. It's a maybe PG-13 passage. But so often we've, in Christian circles, not talked about sex the way God views it. And because of that, we have all these hang-ups. The wisest person who has ever lived, Solomon wrote, drink water from your own cistern, running water from your own well. Should your springs overflow into the streets and your streams of water into the public square? And he's talking about your sexuality. He says, let them be for yours alone, speaking about your wife or husband. Never be to be shared with a stranger. And then speaking to the man, he says, may your fountain be blessed, and may you rejoice in the wife of your youth, a loving doe, a graceful deer. May her breast satisfy you always. May you ever be captivated by her love. Depending on the text that you're using, that word captivated, it's literally intoxicated. It's these wild, passionate feelings that we have that God's given us that are one component part of love that really matter. It usually starts on the front end of relationships, and unless it's nurtured, pretty soon people think it's unimportant. It's a critical part of a loving marriage. Second aspect, because eros does not keep love alive. If you think about building a fire eros is kind of like the paper and the little twigs, a little gasoline, and it flames up quickly and gets hot very quickly, but it doesn't keep you warm and it's not sustainable. The second type of love is phileo love. This is friendship love. The Bible uses the word companionship several times to describe a marriage relationship. Phileo love is a reciprocal or sharing love of activities, home, hobbies, games, objects in common, fellowship. We get our word, what's the city in America, the city of brotherly love? It's Philadelphia, right. Romans chapter 12 describes authentic community, and authentic community has to do with phileo, or best friends type of love. Eros love is you are passionate lovers with your life mate. Phileo love means you become best friends. And in Romans 12 it says, let love be sincere. Abhor what is evil. Be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Give preference to one another in honor. Not lagging behind in diligence, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. And then it goes on to talk about, rejoicing in hope and persevering in prayer. It's talking about all these kind of relationships where you're devoted, loyal, friends, caring. This is grinding out life together. This is doing the bills together, but it's also taking walks and playing a board game. This is, walking around the mall when you really don't want to walk around the mall, but you do. This is watching a ball game and you're thinking, I hate ball games, but my husband's into this. This is putting some popcorn on and watching an old movie and cuddling up close together. It's becoming best friends. Love has an eros component. It has a phileo component, but it also has an agape component. This love is a giving love. This can be unilateral in that one loves even when the other doesn't respond as expected. It's a self-giving in meeting the real needs of the other person with the purpose of helping that person become better, more mature, a godly individual. Agape love takes the initiative. It energizes the other two kinds of love. And agape love is characterized in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. It's patient, it's kind, doesn't envy, doesn't boast, it's not proud, it's not rude, it's not self-seeking, it's not easily angered, It keeps no record of wrongs. It doesn't delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects. Notice the word always. Always trusts. It always hopes. It always perseveres. See, you can't give a supernatural love to another person unless you get it from God. And agape love is giving that other person what they need the most when they deserve it the least at great personal cost. And see, it's a choice, it's a commitment. It's understanding in a relationship that my wife needs phileo love, but there's the NBA All-Star game on, and I haven't checked my email, and I've got all this business stuff in my mind, but I need to stop and choose to meet that need. It's a woman saying, my husband needs some eros love, but I'm really tired. It's been a really rough day, and the last thing I feel like doing is being affectionate, let alone making love. And there's a little moment that happens in a couple's relationship where, oh God, I don't have in and of me what I need to give to this person. And honestly, the way they've treated me lately, I don't want to give it to them, but I want to honor and love you, and I want to choose to love. And as I choose, will you give me power? And that is what produces this amazing relationship. But you've got to understand what love is. 3 types. A relationship that really works needs all 3. We're going to talk about how to nurture each one in just a minute.
You're listening to Living on the Edge with Chip Ingram, and we'll continue a series, Love, Sex, and Lasting Relationships, in just a second. But first, whether single, dating, or married, God has a clear blueprint for relationships that He wants you to know. So keep listening after this message to learn about a resource we've developed to help you get a life full of genuine love and intimacy. You'll want to stick around. With that, here again is Chip.
Second question we need to ask and answer is, what's the difference between love and infatuation? Well, we've said love biblically is 3 different things, but the fundamental aspect of love is it's a commitment, it's a choice. Infatuation is a strong, passionate feeling that comes through chemistry. In fact, I have a quote from Dr. Michael Leibowitz from the New York State of Psychiatric Institute. And they've done research that shows when passionate attraction occurs, a chemical substance called phenylethylamine is released in the brain, causing feelings of elation and excitement, along with a physical sensation such as lightheadedness, that's that tingling feeling, and a sense of being short of breath. So what you need to understand is when you're infatuated, when you're attracted, when those things start bubbling inside your head and your body, this isn't just, you having an illusion. It's real, it's chemical, it's physical. And it produces these amazing good feelings. It also produces, as we've talked earlier, about a drop of 30 to 40 points in your IQ. And when you're infatuated, you get these new glasses. And this is where Nietzsche says, you get these new glasses and you start perceiving things and life and people and priorities as far from reality as you'll ever do in your life. Now, there's a right time and a right way, and infatuation and those chemicals are a gift from God. You just need to know when to use them, why, and where. So here's what we're going to do. I've got 12 questions for you, and we're going to walk through and find out whether you're in love or infatuated. And as you're sitting there, you might just go down through, when I go through, and put an I or an L. Now, if you're dating someone really seriously right now, I suggest that you do not do that in writing. I suggest, maybe on your fingers, But for those of us that are married, I'd like you to think about, how am I viewing the relationship? When I see the difference between love and infatuated, am I in love? Ask yourself, what's the application in our relationship? So you ready to go? Test number 1 is the test of time. Love grows, and all growth requires time. By contrast, infatuation may come suddenly. The feelings, they just explode. You don't have to know the person. You can bump into the person. You're at a Bible study. You're at a coffee shop. You go to a meeting. It happens at work. Someone has sort of a bright colored something that they're wearing. He looks really handsome. The light shines through. And all of a sudden, these chemicals start. Real love takes time. Infatuation can just like drop on you like boom. Second test, closely related, is the test of knowledge. Love grows out of an appraisal of all the known characteristics of the other person. In other words, to love someone, you need to know them. Who are they? What are their values? What are they like? Where do they come from? What matters to them? What are their priorities in life? What's their vision? Where are they headed? How do they treat other people? In other words, to love someone, you have to know them. By contrast, infatuation may arise from an acquaintance with only a few or one of these characteristics. I mean, you can know almost nothing about someone. In fact, I shared a little earlier when my roommate from college, he came in and said, I am in love. I said, wow, that's great. What's her name? He goes, I don't know. I don't know. No, what he's had an infatuation chemicals go off in his mind. Doesn't mean it's bad, it's just not love. Third test is a test of focus. Love is other person centered. It is outgoing. It results in sharing. When you love someone, here's the shift. How do I help them? How do I encourage them? What do they need? What's going to make this relationship work? How do I create time and space and structure and resources and energy and finances to help this person? That's love. By contrast, when you're infatuated, you get very self-focused. Now, some of you will have to go back a few years, and others, you're living right in the middle of this, and maybe you have a roommate or you have a close friend, and someone has just met someone, and they're in the, what I call it, the gaga. Oh man, he is so cool, he is so hot, he is so handsome, he is so strong. When he turns his head, his chin is like this. It's just amazing. And I just feel this, I feel these feelings all over. It's just wonderful, right? Men have it, women have it. And so it goes like this, and your roommate goes, I'm gonna go to work today because he works at work and he's 3 cubicles over, and what's gonna happen? What do you think? Is this dress, does this look good? And then she goes and changes it. No. What about this today? 7 outfits. Why? To go to work. And then you go into a little meeting and you talk in a little meeting, and when you walk out of the meeting and the guy goes, oh my, I want to get to know her. Why did I say that? What was I thinking? I bet she thinks I'm a nerd. She thinks I'm a dumb jock. Why do I say stupid stuff when I'm around her? Where's the focus? Self. Me. When that's the focus, it's infatuation. The fourth test is a test of singularity. Genuine love is centered on only one person. An infatuated individual may be in love with 2 or more persons simultaneously. Now, there are times that as a pastor, you share illustrations and you try and be open and vulnerable. And there's some that you can only share that are way back in the rearview mirror, especially if you've been married over 30 years. And I didn't know any of this when I was kind of growing spiritually, but I had made a commitment. I was walking very closely with God, and it was kind of early 20s, and I thought I'm looking for that right person. And I'd been out of school for a year, and I was on one campus teaching high school, coaching a basketball team, and then doing a ministry on the weekends. And there was a girl about 3 hours away at another school that we were good friends, but I thought something might develop. I've been asked to play on this Christian team, and so guys from all over the United States, and then we played in every country all throughout South America. And so I'm thinking to myself, I really think I have feelings for this girl, and she's the right kind of girl, and nothing's official, but that's sort of in my mind, in my heart. And the first stop is the Dominican Republic. And we play a game, and then there's a girl there who's on a short-term mission trip. And, the chemicals went off in my brain. And so we went on a picnic the next day. And I can still remember, the red and white basket, and there were some trees, and it was beautiful. It's the Dominican Republic, and we had a little hour block. And after one picnic of 2.5 hours, I was like, oh my lands. Now I know why God put me on this team. I'm going to marry her. She's amazing. She's beautiful. We connect. She understands me like no one's ever understood me, after 2 hours. And I'm telling all the guys on the team, I am in love. This is amazing. I'm in love. And so, unfortunately, we're going to have to stay in contact, long distance relationship, because we go to the other countries in South America. We get to Quito, Ecuador. We play 2 or 3 games, and then we have a big meal, and there's a missionary's daughter. And I'll be darned, I fell in love again. And we had a little break, and we sat next to the same table, and then we talked, and we exchanged addresses, and, had a little window of time. We had a couple of meals together, and I just thought, oh my gosh, now what do I do? Because I think it was the girl in West Virginia, then it's the girl in Dominican Republic, but now I really know who I'm in love, and God is amazing. He's filling my life, and until we went to Chile. And we got to Santiago, Chile. This is a true story, and it's so embarrassing. It's embarrassing now. I'm thinking, this is awesome, And so we get to Santiago, Chile, and the president of the federation there, and I came to think in all my travels that Chilean women were the most beautiful in the entire world. And I'm sitting across from the daughter of the president of the federation, and she's probably about my age. She has these dark eyes, unbelievable skin, these dark, long hair. She doesn't speak English, and all I can do is talk about food and, donde está el baño, and a little bit about the Lord, And we sit across from each other for like an hour and a half, and I can't even talk to her, but I find myself walking all afternoon the next day with her through the markets, and we can't even communicate, and I'm convinced she's the one. And now the guys on the team are just, it's ruthless. They're just ragging on me, and you're in love, I didn't understand the difference between love and infatuation. And by the way, it's a funny story. It's funny now. It was confusing then. But can I tell you, that's not just when you're dating. See, genuine love is singular. And see, here's what happens is when you get married, and then you have some kids, and then there's some pressure, and then there's some financial issues or some health issues, and that triangle of God that's agape and eros and phileo, and parts of that isn't working too well. You need to understand that just because you're married, infatuation doesn't stop. The chemicals in your brain don't go, oh, you're married, we're not setting them off for you. They're just chemicals. There's just attraction. And so pretty soon you're married, and it's a difficult time right now. And that difficult time, some people don't look as pretty and so wonderful, and he's gained a few pounds, and pretty soon you go to work and someone is very responsive, and there's just something about, and there's a connection. And you believe the Hollywood model. Maybe I have the wrong person. Maybe this is my right mate. I've fallen out of love, now I'm falling in love. That perspective will destroy two families. And at best, it's gonna last 6 weeks to 18 months. And you're gonna wake up and realize you're the dumbest person on the face of the earth. What you needed to do was realize what real love was, realize the difference between love and infatuation. In fact, I had a guy recently call me from a far another state, and he's a very educated guy. He's a very committed Christian. And he says, I got a problem. I can't even talk to my pastor because I don't even know how to handle it. And he began to talk to me. I said, well, what's the deal, man? He said, there's someone at work, and we've not done anything. We're not involved physically at all. But all that stuff you talk about going on inside your head, now I just acted like it wasn't happening. I found myself wanting to be around this woman at work. I found myself talking to her in a different way. I can sense that she's probably on the same page. It's a difficult season at home. And it's, Chip, what do I do? I took a deep breath and I said, number one, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's pretty normal. Most people aren't this honest about it. And then let me give you Jesus advice on this, and it's the only way. He said, oh, great, what is it? I said, if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off. And if your eye causes you to sin, poke it out. To which he said, thanks. And I said, look, you are on a collision course to destroy your life. That infatuation, it's real, there's chemistry. And then he talked about the relationship in the company and what he would have to do. I said, buddy, I got news for you. If you have to quit your job or sell your company to be righteous and have a family intact 5 years from now, it'll be the smallest sacrifice you ever made. How you doing? Do you see how important this is? Love or infatuation?
This is Living on the Edge with Chip Ingram, and you've been listening to part 1 of Chip's message, How to Know If You're in Love, from our series, Love, Sex, and Lasting Relationships. Chip will be back shortly to share some helpful application for us to think about. The pursuit of true love is everywhere we look. It's overly romanticized in the movies and TV shows we watch, the books we read, and the songs we listen to. In this study in Ephesians chapter 5, Chip's going to expose the love we see in culture as a mirage of the real thing. Stay with us as we uncover God's design for finding, staying, and growing in a genuine love that can last a lifetime. To learn more about this series or our resources, visit livingontheedge.org. That's livingontheedge.org. Well, I'm joined now by Chip, and Chip, what you're describing in this series is so different from what people see in movies and on TV about finding the right person. So what's the best way to get the content you're teaching from our heads to our hearts?
Well, Dave, what I've seen is that when people go through the book, something dynamic changes. I've had lots of people communicate with me, write me, tell me, email me about the content of these messages. And what they tell me is, I went through the book with the person that I was dating. I went through the book with my fiance. And then they tell stories about how God radically changed their relationship. I've actually had some people say, I went through this and it made me see I'm not in love at all. I'm just infatuated. This book is available right now. It's an easy to read, and it answers the kind of questions. How do you know if you're really in love? What's the prerequisite for a great relationship? And then how do you find that right kind of person? I think this is one of the most important things that a single person can do right now, is have a game plan from God about love, sex, and lasting relationships.
Thanks, Chip. To get your hands on his book, Love, Sex, and Lasting Relationships, go to special offers on the Chip Ingram app or at livingontheedge.org. If you want to experience genuine intimacy, lasting romance, and true security, then get this valuable resource today. Order your copy of Love, Sex, and Lasting Relationships by visiting special offers on the Chip Ingram app or at livingontheedge.org. Well, with that, here again is Chip to share a few final words for us to think about.
Today, I want to help you ask and answer the question, am I really in love? And the first part is definitional, right? I covered that. Eros love. That's that sexual, passionate attraction. We talked about phileo love. That's that friendship, that family love. And then we talked about agape love. That's that supernatural, unconditional love where you just love the other person with no expectation in return. And that requires a supernatural work of God inside of you. Now, let me share a few delicate things and why it's important if you want your relationship to work. And I want to speak to married couples, okay? Very specifically to married couples. You have to base your relationship on agape love because you're married to a fallen person, right? Your husband can't come through for you all the time, and your wife can't come through for you all the time. But let me just get down to the nitty-gritty about how life works. And ladies, I'm going to be very direct. Please don't be offended. But some of you ladies, you feel like all your husband thinks about is sex. Between a man and a woman, we all have different desires, but the average man, there's certain exceptions, but the average man feels deeply loved by physical intimacy. And some of you women are thinking, man, what's with it? What doesn't he get? Because that's not how you experience love necessarily in the deepest way. And so to be able to have agape love and understand this is how my husband's wired, he's not weird, he's not abnormal. Now, guys, I've got something to say to you. Your wife feels deeply loved, certainly when you have intimate moments together, but the background of her feeling love is much more around phileo love. It's a long walk. It's talking about the kids. It's helping them in the homework. It's watching you empty the trash without being asked. It's, Kay, can I help out around the house? It's you thinking ahead. It's you being sensitive and caring and making her feel cherished. And I got to tell you, when it's 9:30 or 10 or wherever you go to bed, and you as a husband are wondering, my wife is not affectionate. She looks so beautiful, and you have these ideas, and you can't figure out why she has a headache. It's because you haven't cherished her. Agape love is giving another person what they need the most when they deserve it the least at great personal cost. So here's your assignment. We all want our marriages to be better, more spark, more love, more encouragement, more pizzazz, all right? Men, here's your job. Love your wife for the next 3 days with phileo love. Just choose to do it.
I don't care. Don't fix anything. Just care, listen, take initiative, be available. And ladies, love your husbands with some eros love. And what you'll experience is you being an instrument of God to love unconditionally in a way that makes sense to your mate. And when one person in a relationship changes, it changes the relationship.
Really insightful challenge, Chip. Thanks. As we close, I want to thank each of you who make this program possible through your generous giving. 100% of your gifts go directly to the ministry to help Christians live like Christians. Now, if you found this teaching helpful but aren't yet on the team, consider doing that today. Sending a gift is easy. Go to livingontheedge.org or call us at 888-333-6003. That's 888-333-6003 or visit livingontheedge.org. App listeners, tap donate. And let me thank you in advance for doing whatever the Lord leads you to do. Well, listen in next time as Chip picks up in his series, Love, Sex, and Lasting Relationships. Until then, this is Dave Drury saying thanks for joining us for this edition of Living on the Edge.
Thanks so much for watching this video. If you'd like to watch more content like this, click and subscribe here to our channel. And by the way, if you'd like to know more about Living on the Edge, find out about more resources, maybe get on the mailing list, go to livingontheedge.org. See you next time.